Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.
Rolling. All right, welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And today I'm continuing a family legacy. Usually I have our father in effect, Corey, but today I got Madison. Madison, how you doing today?
What's up, everybody? It's M Square in the building, and today I'm here with Detroit is Different.
Okay. All right. So M Squared is the MC handle. You are a performer and a person of many talents in the performance and into touching different people. And that's why that introduction was almost like my introduction, in the sense of like M Squared is coming for everyone to know what's going on the scene. So
Right.
As we start these stories, I usually start from the story of your Detroit background. And your Detroit background, being one of the youngest guests I've had on Detroit is Different, will probably be a whole different get down with your dad, Corey Williams, in the studio right now. I know he's going to be like, what? So what do you remember about growing up in Detroit? Let's start there.
Well, actually, I didn't grow up in Detroit. I actually grew up all around Michigan.
Mhm.
I'm from everywhere, but you know, like Detroit, I've always like been with my dad in the city. He does work out in Detroit, so just hanging with my dad, that's how I really end up in Detroit, Wildemere events and things like that. But I'm originally just from like everywhere. I've lived all around Michigan. So
Okay. So all around Michigan, where at?
Canton, Southfield. I currently live in Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, everywhere.
All right. So comparable to those places, what do you get from Detroit? Because your dad definitely owns properties in Detroit. He runs businesses in Detroit. What's the differences that you notice?
Definitely some differences. My family, a lot of my family is down there. A lot of my people, my dad's side of the family mainly. My cousins are out there. So it's really like a family thing. Also, my music, I do all my music out there. I only remember really like one gig that I had like out in the suburbs, but like all my performances are out there. All my people are out there.
All right, so this is so unique as you talk about being here and your performances. Let's talk a little bit about your performance. What do you perform?
I perform my songs. I perform at the Wildemere. I perform everywhere. I perform mainly. I'm really like a host, so I get the crowd rocking, mainly with the kid audience. And I just perform all my songs usually just to get my songs out there.
All right. And that's like the start of what hip hop is, because
Right.
I guess I should have been more specific in the genre and everything, because hip hop started as MC, master of ceremonies. I don't know how much you study the art form or the craft, but it always started like from that whole start in the Bronx of people doing call and response to, I guess, make the party more interactive. So, the whole throw your hands in the air,
Yeah.
ugly people be quiet. If, we about to get this thing going. And like, that was the feel of it. What led for you to like hip hop music in the first place?
Like being around my dad is really, I feel like it's a culture. So it's what I grew up listening to. I listen to a lot of genres of music, but hip hop, I always like upbeat music. That's like my favorite thing to listen to. That's what I listen to all the time. You can ask anybody. I don't really listen. I listen to all genres of music, but that's what I really stick with. That's like home. That's what I do.
All right. Now, it is one of those things, being younger, and I connected to hip hop at a young age too, where people say like the message in hip hop can be distorted. How old are you?
I'm 12 years old.
So at 12, hip hop, people think, like, what's going on? And when I was your age, I was definitely connecting to hip hop. So like 94 for me, I was born in 82. So like 94, I remember, let's see, like what historic albums. That Snoop's album was like 1 year old. Wu-Tang Clan's album was 1 year old. That was when Biggie's first Ready to Die came out. And I'm like 12 listening to this stuff. And like, especially like a song like Suicidal Thoughts on Biggie's first album, which I'm sure you've probably never heard, but I'm 12 interpreting this stuff. What do you take it as hip hop has some very graphic and traumatic topics and and things to cover from a popular stance. How do you interpret that?
I feel like with hip hop, there's a story always, and I feel like you really have to listen to the words, and if that means you listening to it over and over to really understand the song, that's what you got to do. And that's what I do. Usually, like Tupac, I've always listened to it with my dad. I remember when I was first introduced, I really didn't understand anything, but after listening to it and trying, like really, like dedicating myself to interpreting it, sitting down and breaking down the lyrics, that's really how I do it.
Yeah. So when we think of breaking down the lyrics, who are some of your favorite MCs?
Tupac, probably my favorite.
Okay. What stands out about Tupac's catalog?
Always a story, always a deeper meaning, and I appreciate that. I think we need more of that.
Okay. What songs do you like most from
him? Changes, I feel like, is one of my Tupac favorites. Keep Your Head Up, probably my favorite.
Okay. And it's funny you mentioned that because that was on his 94 album. And that 94 album, it was so weird because it had like two balances. So like Strictly for My Niggas, the album, it had Keep Your Head Up and it had I Get Around. And Tupac even said, it's like, these are the perspectives of how he interprets black women.
Definitely.
And at the same time, Tupac himself, even though he was, maybe, at the time, a couple, 7-8 years older than me, he was still a kid himself. And in writing these stories, your music, how do you write your stories?
My music is really, I try to put a story, but I really rap about the things that I'm feeling. So it's really like either like an upbeat feel, it can be like a darker, beat. Like for example, We Don't Care Haters. Even though I've really experienced a hater in my life before, I had to really take that and like flip it around to like We Don't Care Haters. So I use how I'm feeling all the time.
Okay, so how you feeling? What range of emotions do you put into your music, and then how does that help you? Like, does it help you get the emotions out? Does it help you just understand the emotions more? Like, what's the process for you?
The process for me is to basically just do what I do. And for example, like We Don't Care Haters, right? That's like my song, We Don't Care Haters. Like I don't speak into the haters, like we don't care about what you say, what you do. It's more of that type of feel, And then for example, my song Too Much Sauce, it's a very upbeat song, like too much sauce, too much swag, like that's speaking to myself, like I got too much sauce. It's more of a confident song. All my songs are really confident. And, I just like get the feel of, what's going on in the moment.
Okay. Now, along with this, at 12, I know school plays a big role. Parents play a big role.
Right.
How has it been like being in school and then also being an artist, wanting to perform? Like, what's that balance like?
That's a good question. Well, ultimately, my parents believe, and I believe, that school comes first. But right after, my career comes second. So I always write on the bus before school. I actually have a song that I wrote on the bus. My covers I write on the bus. I try to balance it as much as I can. I do this program called Mosaic, which is like a singing and acting program. So that's after school. So ultimately, school is really like in the middle. It's something I gotta do. So I do it to the best of my ability. Then comes me and my rapping.
Well, Mosaic is definitely one of the most honored forms of arts and culture and tradition in the Detroit area.
Yes, definitely.
Shout out to De La Shay,
yes,
Lumumba, my cousin, and so many other people. When we think about singing and we think about acting, it also is very competitive. Mosaic Youth Theater takes a good amount of time.
It does.
It's one of those things where you're training like you're like an athlete, like so many people put into that. So
right, I've never done anything like that before. As soon as I went to Mosaic, I knew I really wanted to do it. And then I started out with the summer camp, And then I auditioned for the actual company, for the second stage and main stage company. And I ended up getting in second stage, and it was training like I had never done. So shout out to my Mosaic family.
All right. So what have you learned about performance from Mosaic that you apply to your hip hop?
Mosaic is to really do stuff from the heart, do what you feel. And I feel like I definitely do that when I'm using hip hop, when I do my music. I do it in everyday life. So it's like, in Mosaic, my acting coach, Amber Griffin, she tells us to make a choice, which is basically like you decide what you're going to do to make this performance yours, to make the performance better for yourself, for everyone that's involved. So with hip hop, with my music, I make a choice to basically say what's going to be good for the album, what's going to be good for my name.
Okay. So you talking about the album Good for Your Name. I guess the way the stage even itself. At 12, I can definitely tell you, as a person that's performed hip hop myself, at 12 it was a lot of stage fright,
Yeah.
How do you get over your stage fright? How do you get in front of people? As I don't know if you noticed, but public speaking or being in front of a crowd is still one of the biggest fears most people have in life.
Right. I've been told that, but I've never really had stage fright. I like to talk to people. I like to think of myself as a pretty social person, but when I get on stage, when I'm about to get on stage, especially, my heart's racing, my stomach, is cramping up, my hands get sweaty. So I just calm myself down. I practice first of all before I go on. Mm-hmm. And I just talk to myself and be like, it's okay, you got it. Ultimately, confidence for me trumps all.
All right. So when you say that you calm yourself down and you get ready, what are some of the ways that you practice so you are ready? Like when you say go over everything in practice, what do you do?
I get in my room, I put my music on the speaker, mm-hmm. and I bust and I just perform like I'm in front of a crowd. I practice like touching their hand. I practice like getting them hype. I jump around and practice jumping around my crowd in like my room, in my bedroom. So that's what I do. But it's really nothing that you can really rehearse. It's really what you feel. Mm-hmm. So by rehearsing, I mean, I I rehearse like, what up, y'all? It's your girl M2. Today I'm in the building. I want to see how hype y'all can get. Let's get it. Let's go. So, it's really like nothing you can rehearse, but it's really what you feel. Like that I just felt. So.
Okay. And that's unique that you say that, because when I was performing a whole lot more, I spent time in front of mirrors performing.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I did. And it's unique as like being in a room by yourself in a mirror performing for yourself. It's like you're looking at your movements. You're looking, or at least for me, I was looking at my movements. I was looking at my facial expressions, and then just timing things and getting more comfortable, because it's 2 levels of rapping. It's always like, do you remember your rap? And if you're trying to remember the rap, it's a very hard performance. Like you can't really think about performing. And then after you get past remembering your rap, then it's performing your rap. And they were 2 totally different things. And it took a while. I remember my first performance. I definitely know, you probably don't know this place, but it used to be a Blind Pig out in I would say that's like Warren, on the Gratiot side, like near 9.5 Mile. And it was when the Red Wings won like that 3rd championship around that time. And homie Mark Kemp from not Silent Riot. What was I'm forgetting Mark Kemp's record label, but he booked me. And one of my friends from high school was there. It was one of the worst performances ever. And I really didn't get good maybe for about 2.5 years until I knew what I had to do. Like one of my best friends had a show and he was like, man, I can't even put you on my show. You my homie, but I can't put you on my show because, you trash. So I was like, damn, I gotta tighten up. And that's what really made me kind of tighten up with it. Do you remember your first performance, and how have you gotten better over time performing?
I remember my first performance. The aunt that I actually performed for is actually on my live right now. I performed at my cousin's 2nd or 3rd birthday party.
Okay. How old was your cousin becoming?
She was like one or two or three.
Okay, so it's like a
remember.
real little.
It was a little crowd, but it was like the whole family. Everybody was there. My aunties was hyping me up. I was just walking across the stage. Getting hype, and I said, "When I say M, you say square," and that's what I do all the time. But I feel like I've grown. I look back at my videos and I'll be like, "Don't ever do that again." And then I'll be like, "That was perfect. I like that."
Well, that's dope. That's dope that you actually, as a performer, especially a performer starting, look back at things, because a lot of performers, you'd be surprised, don't listen to their music, don't look back at it. They almost have the idea of, I'm throwing it out there, and kind of like the insecurities and the shame of it keeps them away from studying their own craft.
Yeah, I feel like even for my first performance, I feel like it could possibly like be my best one yet, now that I think about it, because you know, it was so like natural. Like I just went up there and everybody was just feeling me. Everybody was just feeling me. It was my family that was hyping me up. Okay. And I feel like that was the best thing for me. And I feel like everything was so natural. I didn't really rehearse. I just went up there like, oh yeah, I got this. And now it's like I think about it, which makes it a little bit better.
All right. Now, M Squared itself, how did you get that name? Why did you come up with that?
Well, my initials are MMW. So I took, in class, we were learning about like squaring, you know, square roots and things like that. And I seen like centimeter squared, and I seen the M squared, and I know it's like M times M, that's M squared, because, you know, and I seen that and I was like, oh, M squared, I'm M squared.
Okay. All right. So that's definitely cool. You learning about powers and multiplications and polynomials and monomials probably before I was learning about it. So that's definitely one of those cool things.
Just thinking about it, I don't even remember like if it was like a big thing that I just thought about. I just like took something and went with it.
All right. Now, there's another layer within your performance. It's being a young woman, a young lady or girl in hip hop, as hip hop is such a male dominated art form, like a lot of things.
Yeah.
How do you feel about having a female voice in hip hop, knowing that, you know, women and women's voices are not as prevalent?
I feel like, of course, we need more women in the hip hop game, but I feel like I'm an excellent voice because I speak confidence. That's what I try to do mainly. And I feel like this coming up generation, I feel like kind of a lot of people are starting to rap and do music, you know? So I feel like it's coming, like it's going to be more women coming in.
Now, along with that perspective, there always has been a focus on really your age range. I would think the music industry focuses on probably 11 to 15 as the target audience to market music to. And it's always been that. And it's always kind of sort of been a debate when I was a kid, like, man, is this gangster rap causing, you know, young black men to want to be, you know, gangsters? Yeah. And now discussion is a lot of the, I guess, like female rap, women rapping, causing young women to look to sexuality and promiscuity as something that is empowering for them. Because when we think of a lot of the women voices in rap, from Cardi B to Meg Thee Stallion, or shout out Cash Doll here in the city of Detroit, it's using sexuality as a platform for a stage, or Light Skin Keisha. Like, what's your take on that?
I feel like there's different ways to empower people, and that can definitely be one of them. But I think my music, especially as somebody being 12, should maybe stay away from that. But I feel like, you know, the grown artists can definitely find different. I feel like it's amazing that they're finding different ways to empower their listeners. But I feel like as long as you have a balance, everything should be fine.
Okay. So do you think that, like, your friends, because that's also one of the discussions with a lot of women, do you think your friends are being influenced by some of that music to feel as though a way that like a true gateway for empowerment is sexuality? Or do you think that it's just one of those things where you all just listen to it and say, okay, that's what Light Skin Keacher does. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to do it.
That's my mindset. Like, I listen to a song and I'm like, oh, the beat is sweet, that. But, I feel like there's different type of mindsets. And, especially the younger age is very influential. Like, they are very easily influenced. So I feel like, they just we gotta be just a little bit stronger. Maybe not be as easily influenced.
Okay, because artists like Rhapsody and No Name still do exist. Shout out to another Detroit MC, Bug Brown, and I think she's amazing, but they're not necessarily given the same platform as something like Cardi B may have.
Yeah, I agree.
So do you think that will influence like some of your music going forward? Like, do you look at the platform that some of these artists have been given and think to yourself, all right, this I see given a bigger platform versus that? Sort of like when I was younger, we think of artists like Tribe Called Quest. We think of artists like, this is before your time, but like Brand Nubian versus like when NWA kind of came, it shifted a lot of how hip hop went, where it was like people wearing African medallions and dashikis, and that shifted to like, backwards hats, hoodies, and like, assault rifles. You know what I'm saying? And I do think that some of the artists, it's like it changed things from my perspective when I was that age. I definitely can say that.
Yeah. It's music. I feel like it's still growing. So I feel like there is given like different platforms, like music that's kind of down to earth. I feel like it's noticed, but it's not as noticed as other things. So I feel like we should really like explore all types of music.
All right. And speaking of all types of music, your music, how do people get your music?
Like online? You can get my music on any digital platform. It's on YouTube under the DistroKid name. It's 69 cents if you want to purchase it on Apple Music. Spotify, Tidal. I don't know if it's on Tidal. Spotify, TikTok if you want to make a video. I just had my friend upload it onto Dub Smash. We Don't Care Haters, a segment of that. So really, you can get my music anywhere.
All right, now talk a little bit about TikTok, as it's a whole platform that like people my age and your dad's age are looking at like, what is this?
Exactly. At first, I thought it just like started out as a joke. But now people are really like on here making dance. Like, I just thought it was something like that was like funny. I thought people were like making it a joke. But now it's like something serious.
Okay. And that's like Old Town Road, I know, became such a hit through TikTok.
Right.
And just a lot of people doing their own dance routines to it, like in short clips.
Yeah. That's how really songs these days blow up, like Savage from Megan Thee Stallion. That's how I heard that song. That's the only part of Savage I know. There's a lot of songs that I just know the TikTok version too. So it's really like, I feel like the kids, like, we take the hardest part of a song or like a piece that we like that's like fast tempo and like the beat is bumping, and we really just take it and we just mess with it. We do routines and things like that to it.
Yep. And I mean, first off, let me say you're doing like this just shows like who your parents are, and also who you are, to take things from your parents to be someone that I can have such a like real conversation with that's 12 years old.
Yeah.
Because that leads to the next question of like what impact you think social media has on you all, because it's always a discussion like, man, what's going on? Like how do people interact? Because things like, we all at your age, we had to meet up to do anything. Like we did basement parties,
Yeah.
we did block parties, and and things like that. It's like a whole
Different world.
friendships that you have with people possibly across the world through social media. How do you do you all like how do you manage like a online social media friend versus like, okay, I go to school with this person, and then if you go to school with this person, does that just naturally make them like your social media friend, or you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I feel like there's no real like way to like put it, but I feel like my friends from school, they follow me, they enjoy my rap stuff, so they just follow me. There's people at my school, I'm sure, who don't follow me. That don't mean they're not my friend. That just mean they don't follow me on Instagram, which they should. But you know, I feel like the difference between having like a real friend and an online friend is there's like nothing between you but a screen. So I feel like I don't have any online friends. All my friends are like, I mean, I have online friends, like my friends that are on, you know, TikTok and like Instagram and things like that. I have friends like that I know in real life, but I don't really have like a friend that I've never seen before that I like literally talk to. That's just not me.
Okay. All right. Because I wondered that, as, you know, from the outside in, you know, us as older people look at it like, man, things are so different because they don't really interact with people. You know, what's your take on like our generation? Let's put it like that.
I feel like the generation before us, like y'all, I feel like it's a bit more genuine. I feel like it was like more social, like you can meet up with your friends, like you said. And these days it's really like we talk on social media, and I don't know if that's good, I don't know if it's bad, but I feel like I would like to see what it was like to live in your generation, because you know everything doesn't have to be just screens, and that I feel like that's what people think these days.
Okay. All right. And along with the on screen, this year has been different on so many levels for everybody. Because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
It stopped. I've never seen anything like this. And really, unless you're like about 100 years old and lived through the Spanish flu, which was not international, no one's seen anything like this.
Right.
How did you adjust to what was happening in school after that happened? Mentally, how did you adjust?
I just realized, like, school is school. I gotta do school. So I just made some time for myself every day to just like dedicated some time to do school, because still it's school. That's what I have to do. But mentally, I just said, I don't care what this is. I'm gonna still get my education to the best that is presented to me, which is online. So, you know, basically I just did anything that my teacher told me to. I got on my Zoom meetings. I did what I had to do. And mentally, I was just like, just because I'm not in school doesn't mean I have to like do less, like less than what's expected of me when I'm out of school.
Okay, now let me ask this. Did you go to a school with a uniform?
Mm-mm.
Okay, because I was wondering, like, was people like trying to look fly on the Zoom meeting?
People was in their pajamas.
It was like, let me stun on them right now. Let me stun on them right quick. Like, yeah, let me get that new fresh polo out. All right, what was the Zoom meeting like? Because as adults, even us, you know, adults say, you got to be serious, you got to be that. Like, these Zoom meetings are like, oh my God, I can't imagine if I had to be in Zoom meeting from like 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It would be, you know, nowadays a Zoom meeting for like 1 hour, people are like, what is going on in these meetings?
Right. Our meetings were only like 30 minutes, and it wasn't like,
that's good.
The teachers really gave us our work. And then like expected us to do it. Right, expected us to do it. And then the Zoom meetings that we had were just like to clarify what we were actually doing, like what our lessons were. We were expected to go on this Google Doc and click the links and work through stuff ourselves if we wanted to be educated. So we had to do what was given to us. And then if you were on a Zoom meeting, it was because the teachers were updating you with something, or we were, you know, just talking to each other because we haven't seen each other in like forever.
And that's the other lane too. I think I was joking definitely at that age all day. Like, were people still trying to get jokes off? Was it like still like regular school, or was it just kind of like, shut up, listen to the teacher? Especially now, because the teacher has the power of putting you on mute.
Right. But yeah, I feel like it was everyone that was mature was actually doing their work and was actually on the meeting. So I feel like if you one of those people who just joke, is like a jokester, you joking around a lot, you weren't on the meeting because you weren't like being serious about the work. You knew you was gonna mess up the meeting. So I feel like there was only one time that, you know, the Zoom meeting got a little bit like not mature. This girl just started running in her room and like the teacher had to tell her to stop. That was like
hilarious.
Yeah, that was like the laugh for the day. But it wasn't, but nobody even laughed. Everybody was on mute. Everybody was just sitting there just waiting to be done.
Well, that's more powerful than a lot of adult meetings, being that I've been on some, and your dad and I'm sure your mom has been on some Zoom meetings. It's some stuff that goes off that people do laugh at as adults, even though we make it seem like we don't. Moving forward to this new school year, how do you think you're going to make that adjustment? And not just you, but how do you think most students will make the adjustment for online classes, period? Because in person, so much of school is built on being in person and the social dynamic, as much as it is also being online.
I feel like,
or learning, I should say, not online.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like students, if you're mature, you're going to do what the teachers say, and you're going to make the best out of how you're learning. But are you asking like how students are going to react to being in online, or how are we going to like?
Because it's more than just the students, it's even the teachers. Like a lot of the lessons in the lesson plans are built on like group dynamic, especially right now. It's like, do a group project, you know, or we gonna all, you know, everybody get in fours and stuff like that. Like now I can only imagine what that's like. I've taken online college classes, and the lesson was built for that. And it's a lot of independent study that takes initiative. You know, like what's your take on like what this is gonna, you know, like you're gonna pull out? Because the social dynamic, especially in middle school and high school, I thought was as important. Definitely for me, it was probably more important than the actual learning.
Yeah, I know I've struggled with the social part. I haven't been able to see my friends. Yeah. I'm cooped up at home. So I can't imagine how other people are feeling, especially those like, you know, the only child, people that are only children. So people that are the only child, I don't know how they're coping with that. But I feel like you have to make an effort just as much as you do to do your work. You have to make an effort to, you know, be social with your friends, whether that's through online, whether it's, you know, drive-by parties, parades, because you can't just stay in the house all day. You have to go out and do something.
I got you. All right, now moving forward to music. Back to the music thing. What do you see moving forward with your music? What do you want to do?
You know, more visuals. Okay. So like music videos. Definitely more performances. If y'all are interested in booking me for a performance, my email is linked in my Instagram bio. There's actually a link under that to just go straight to Gmail and email me. Okay. I feel like my music, I really want to interact with everybody, and I want to grow with my fans. So I feel like I need to really learn what my fans want. And like to get a feel of what I need to give them, and to like increase my fan base. I feel like, you know, getting with other artists, you know, doing interviews with other artists, you know, getting in touch with people who are also trying to do what I'm doing, so we can kind of boost each other.
I feel that. All right. Now, as we get like closer to the close, and there's so many more questions, especially like the flow of where you're at. This is definitely a deeper interview that I've had that I'd ever think with like a 12-year-old. So I'm learning from you. The questions now go into like, as you continue this path of music and school and just growing up, what would you like to balance? Would you like to make a career of hip hop? Is it just something you look at as for fun? Do you still see yourself like balancing with school, saying like, you know, I'm gonna keep pursuing through my bachelor's or bachelor's degree in college and master's degree in college? What's your plan as of now at 12?
My plan is to keep doing music. I don't want to stop doing music until for some reason I just have to stop. But I don't look at it as something I do for fun. I look at it like I want to do this because I want to make it big one day. I feel like I try to be very serious with my music. I try to keep everything very organized with my music. So I feel like we've done too much even to just do it for fun. I feel like I've done too much. I put in too much work to even think about doing it for fun. But it is something that's still fun for me. And my plan is to, go to school, keep working, getting my education, and then either getting a business degree after in college. That's what I want to do.
Okay, you said business degree.
Yeah.
What business do you see yourself pursuing?
I don't know, but I think I want to be an entrepreneur. I think maybe like one day get a record label or like a talent agency.
Okay.
But something that I'm definitely looking into other than business is like medical stuff. My mom is in the medical field, and I feel like, that's something that could be interesting. So I'm looking into that. I'm looking a little more leaning to the business side, but, I'm just exploring my options.
Okay. All right. Well, that kind of brings us to a close. I usually have like my classic Detroit is different questions, which I think would be like some of them is before you. So I'm going to change it up a little bit so we can learn from you. Who should we be following on TikTok?
On TikTok, it really depends on like who you are. Are you more of like, are you trying to follow like trends, or are you trying to...
Let's say trends. Who should we be following?
Okay. You should be following Charlie D'Amelio, Addison Rae, really whoever, because everybody does the poppin' trends. But if you're really looking to like starting like your own trend, you should be really like looking at the smaller people on TikTok. But Charlie D'Amelio, Addison Rae, because they are like the big, they have them like so many followers. Like this one girl, Charlie D'Amelio, has like 57 million fans just because, she's on there and she all the time and just does her thing. She just does dances all day.
All right. If we want to buy something cool for a 12-year-old right now, what should we buy them where they be like, all right, they knew. How did this old person know to cop this for me?
What would you buy like a 12-year-old? A new phone.
Okay.
A lot of parents I know don't let their children have social media. You can surprise them and let them, like download a social media app. I know that's what everybody's looking into my age. But buy them something like physical, like physically buy them something. I don't know. I feel like everything's really virtual.
Okay, so basically you got to get them some virtual cash.
Yeah, okay. Like maybe Cash App. I feel like everything's kind of like money, like Cash App them something. Not like everything's money, but everything's like through the phone, I feel like.
All right, and I guess the last question, what do you think people my age could do to support you and your friends more? Like, how do we support younger artists along your career? What would be helpful in your journey?
I feel like if you know a younger artist, if you know two younger artists, right? Let's say me and then another younger artist. You can kind of, share what you're doing, what that young artist is doing, and then share what I'm doing to that younger artist, and kind of have us collaborate more. I feel like that's very important. I feel like everybody's kind of scattered and doing their own thing. I feel like if we all came together and did something, that would be really cool. So, to support us, share us with your younger family or friends, because ultimately we're younger and we need to grow with the people who are growing.
Okay. And now this is my last question, and it's going to be probably like in my mind, I think it's a deeper question, because when you're younger, just how the industry over time has perceived people, like making that transition from young artists to grown artists, as this is something that you want to pursue for a while, like Little Bow Wow to Bow Wow, or Brandy and her career transition, or Michael Jackson, I think maybe the best transition from child star to, like, I guess adult star, let's just put it like that. Do you sometimes think like, man, by starting out so young, I'm gonna put myself in a box where if I transition it's gonna be a tougher transition for me?
That's a good question. I feel like right now my music is so balanced. Like at the same time, I'm giving kind of like the upbeat feel the kids want, but at the same time, I'm still like rapping. You know, I know like a lot of the music that kids are looking for is really not even, they don't even really, they care about the message, but they're not looking for the message. They're looking for the beat. They're looking for what you're saying, like too much sauce, too much swag, like something easy they could say, something easy they can put on TikTok. But the older crowd maybe is looking for, not even the older, but you know, like the teenager and up, maybe looking for like you actually busting like, oh, I see what you said there. That's sweet. So I feel like my music right now is very balanced. I have some songs where I'm just like straight going, and then I have some songs where I'm like, you know, more loosened up, and then like we can actually like dance to it. So I feel like as long as you have a balance, I feel like if you do not have a balance, you are going to automatically put yourself in a box. And at first I actually started out and I was like, okay, I'm doing too much, like just straight rap, and I need to loosen up. So I feel like I haven't put myself really in a box, but I'm going to try my best to kind of do more of the kid, you know, like upbeat feel songs that you can put on TikTok, put on dub smashes, because that's ultimately how stars get big. And I feel like that's what people have to realize. Like, if you get famous with the adults, the kids who are actually going to grow up, they're not rocking with you. It's the adults that's rocking with you. So you need to really have a balance so you can have like a very diverse group of people. And I feel like if you're getting with most of the kid artists, you know, you'll grow up with them. They'll grow to like your music. They'll tell you what they want, what they like, and you can run with that.
Okay. All right. So with that, thank you so much for the interview. Drop your IG one last time for the people, even though they're going to see it at the bottom of the screen, but drop it for them.
Okay, y'all. My Instagram is the.m_. M² is spelled MSQUARED, the.m². So go follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok at the.m² as well.
Okay.
My album, what?
The album, is your album out? He was Corey, your dad is coming from sideline with the question. Is your album out? I just basically give them a reminder about where to get your music.
You can get my music anywhere. It's on all digital platforms. You can even access it on TikTok and choose a segment that you like to dance to. But yeah, overall my music is everywhere. It's on YouTube. You can purchase it on Apple Music, like I said. My album is not out yet, but I have 2 singles that are out and doing very well. So you can go and go on my Instagram and repost, you know, get the word out, help me get the word out for those. And yeah, that's basically where all my songs are, everywhere.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.